Hey, everybody. I am attorney Michael Eline, and as many of you know, I am an attorney licensed in California and Texas. I primarily do personal injury law, but I'm really interested in government accountability. It's one of my biggest issues, being a libertarian and a believer in the constitutional republic, not the constitutional democracy, the republic for which it stands. I'm always interested in government accountability. And so, because of that reason, I support police auditors even though many people don't like them and think that they're rude or that they've got an attitude problem or whatever they might want to think about them. That's the whole idea behind having a First Amendment, is to hold the government accountable and to be as belligerent as you want to be, as long as you don't cross the line, and test them to see how they're going to respond. Because if you have corrupt officers who are planting drugs on people or doing things that violate the law, setting up municipal corporations for the purpose of raising money rather than doing justice, then absolutely a lawyer like me wants to hold them accountable. Now, sadly, most civil rights cases don't bring in enough money to run a law firm in today's society. So I have to find ways to sort of subsidize my income to support my family. Well, today is going to be a little bit different day for y'all. Today, I'm going to talk about drones and auditing police with drones. And then in one of my other videos, my next live, I'm going to talk about using surveillance equipment like long distance audio equipment where you can pick up on what these guys are doing. Because we know oftentimes they'll turn off their cameras when they get into the huddle to figure out how to violate the rights of these auditors and other people that they just don't like for the purposes of raising revenue. We know about the civil asset forfeiture laws. I'm leading the way in the fight to overturn civil asset forfeiture laws in this country. I believe that they are totally unconstitutional and wrong. I believe they're a holdover from King George and Admiralty Maritime law, that it is a bane on our society, where I've had several Marine brothers now have their money confiscated from them, one at an airport, another on the freeway, by total a-hole cops, and they get to keep part of that money, their department. And obviously the guy with the most busts, right? The best officer, right? The most callers, the most arrests, the people who can put people into the prison industrial complex and raise money for their corrupt systems, the better for them, but not for us, not for our family of freedom-loving people. And so I want to get into some other topics that a lot of people haven't really talked about. You know, we've seen them all, the police auditor channels, and there's only a few decent ones. The best one is Chili DeCastro's Delete Laws, who's also a friend of mine. But I like to be sort of a spearhead, being a Marine and all, being tip of the spear. I like to get out there and talk about things that no one else is really talking about right now. And one of those things is police audits using drones. And so I'm going to get into the little bit about the legality of using drones in public spaces. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, obviously, I want to get to my audience. And I know I started a little early today. Age Go, good seeing you. So today's probably not going to be the biggest show because it's a noon show. So probably on a Saturday morning, I would imagine a lot of you guys are asleep. But I'll try to make some shorts out of this video. You can see I don't have my typical suit and tie situation going on. Just got back from working out over at Powerhouse. Got a pretty decent workout in, got the endorphins going, feeling good, feeling pretty good. So Age Go, give me a 5x5 if the sound is okay. I noticed on the last few videos, brother, that I had the gain up a little bit too high. So it was just kind of like kind of bad. So I pulled the microphone a little bit further away and turned up the gain a little bit more so you'd be able to get me, but without me, going right there into the microphone. So hopefully you're still there, Age Go, and you can give me some, okay, out freaking standing there, you. All right. So today, like I said, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be on for 2 hours. I've got several cases that I need to work on today, as well as a thing that I got to do with my daughter. So I'm going to try to go as long as I can because I do want to share this stuff with you because I think it's just so important. But let me just see what I got up on my screen. So because this is sort of a new thing for me, and hopefully there's a few of you, Steve Conkler, right on, 5x5. Real quick, guys, I wanted to share something with you for the people who watch this live later. Look, when I give people a wrench, it's because when I make you a moderator, it's because you've been in my channel for a long time, and I know you're not a gaslighter. I know you're not here to cause problems, because I am a believer in free speech, but let's face it, there's a lot of trolls who come in here and cause a lot of trouble, and they just try to gaslight people. You could show them evidence and citations, and they'll still call you a liar and gaslight you because they support the Marxist side of the coin that we don't support, the police state, Bolshevik state side of the coin that we don't support. They don't support it until they get into power, right? Till they take over, and then they support it. And I've never believed that. That's why I like it when both parties lose, because when both parties lose, we win. I'm for getting people into office who believe in deleting laws and not making more. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I've made a few people moderators the last couple of weeks, and I've had several complaints from several of my members who are moderators. And so now it's like, I guess maybe these new guys think it's okay to time out fellow moderators. Now, I was under the impression if you got a wrench that you couldn't time out someone with a wrench. But someone pointed out to me that that's not true on YouTube. It's only true on Twitch. So I've got moderators trying to time out moderators. And to me, guys, come on, let's grow up. The reason I gave those guys a wrench is because it's hands off. I've already decided that I think that they're a benefit to my channel, and I want them to be able to speak freely. Now, what I don't want is for moderators to attack each other or insult them, especially the females. It's absolutely unacceptable for you guys to be insulting the ladies. It's just, I'm a holdover from another day when a man just didn't insult a woman or lay a hand on her. I'm from the day when you open the doors for the ladies. And if she's going through menopause or she's got her own issues, you be respectful to her just as if she was your mother. That's all I ask. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I have to have some kind of guidelines and rules. So please, I've already had one guy, I'm not going to name names, who's been on my channel for a long time, and I consider him to be a dear friend and a member of Team MPE. And I just hate hearing stories that he doesn't want to come back because he keeps getting timed out when he starts popping off to another moderator. Now, I don't know the full story, but what I would like it from now on to happen is if there is an issue between moderator and moderator, just send me an email or a text after the show is over. Don't, just back off and let them do what they got to do. Try to enjoy the show because we're all on the same team. We're all on Team MPE, and we're here to help each other, and we need to love one another. I'm not into the whole thing where we all agree on everything. I wouldn't be a libertarian if I felt that way. I don't believe in being a member of a powerful party. If the Libertarian Party became so powerful that it started acting like the Marxist leftists, I would leave that party as well. I am a recovering Democrat. I am a true liberal before liberals became Marxist. I believe in utmost freedom. I do not believe in big government. I do not believe in big pharma. I believe that the more powerful these parties get, unfortunately, they become drunk with power. And the party of billionaires, the billionaires always take over the side that's in power. And now the classical liberals like me don't exist anymore in my old party. Now you just see a bunch of totalitarians who want to brainwash your children. They've taken over our academic institutions, and now they're taking over our military. And you can see the damage that they're doing to our once great republic. So keeping that in mind, I want you guys to be classical liberals yourself, like Hayek or Thomas Jefferson. Those were true liberals. And I want you to remember that. The modern day liberal that we have now is basically a Marxist or a Bolshevik. And I just don't have time for people like that. I believe in critical thinking, not hail to the state. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree and that you understand what I'm saying. Please, moderators, don't time each other out. Don't ban each other. Now, if you see someone new come into the stream, and start accusing us of being liars or spreading misinformation when I'm showing you the citations and the case law, then clearly those are people we don't want on the channel because these are people probably suffering from cognitive dissonance or just troublemakers who are probably like these paid trolls, the guys like Soros and Gates and stuff pay to come and cause trouble. And we don't want them around. So, hey, good seeing you, Jim. I'm glad you subbed in, brother. Yeah, DEI, that's right. I mean, that now DEI means diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what it really means is putting people into positions of power who never earned it. Because now the new modern Marxist party says that merit is really just white privilege and racist, which is absurd because we know that the best African tribes, the best African warrior tribes promoted from within the tribes based on merit. So it's just a bunch of nonsense. It's Marxism repackaged where it's hatred against white people and you have to promote people based on their skin color or if, their gender confusion and things like that. And so we don't believe in that on my channel. We believe in promoting people based upon their qualifications because we understand that we don't want a pilot flying us on an airplane who is put there because of the color of their skin or their gender confusion. We want someone flying our airplane around with us in the back who's got skills, right? Who's got skills and who has the mindset and the meritorious promotions that earned them that spot in that pilot's seat. And we want leaders who think the same way. We want moral leaders who are just, who are not Solomon-esque, who throw up the baby and try to cut it in half to make both sides happy. We want leaders who are moral and just in the nature of Thomas Aquinas, someone who knows the law and means to keep it well. So I'm just kind of like trying to give the room a little bit time to fill up. Good seeing you, Tim Wilk. I'm glad to see you new to the channel. And again, I want my moderators to understand that if you have a fellow moderator that you have a problem with, don't get into mod wars where you're timing each other out. Please, guys, we don't have time for that. Most of the guys in my channel are over 40 years old, and they're pretty educated. A lot of them have philosophy majors. So just try to be cool with your fellow mods. Know that there are brothers and sisters, and I gave them those wrenches because I want them to help us keep out the trolls, not fight each other, right? So just keep that in mind. We need to be united when we're united. And, we always need to present a united front to the public. Now, privately, we can talk and we can figure it out because all of you are extremely valuable to me. I wouldn't be doing these shows if you weren't. If I wasn't getting this massive following that I picked up, I wouldn't do these shows. But apparently I'm like a voice in the desert that a lot of people are interested in hearing from. And so I'm really, really grateful to everyone for joining me. And again, I started the show early today because I've got a lot on my plate. I have several cases in active litigation that I have to get done. I just got done working out, but I got my Punisher shirt on. So, I'm ready to go to war, guys. And then Kyle says, what about over 50 but look good? Right. Well, I got over 50 that look good. That would probably be me. The difference with me and most guys my age is that I hit the gym and I eat right. And so I can still bench about 300 and I still have chicks after me. But hey, I'm married, man. So I know better. My wife's from El Salvador and I'm not interested in waking up in the middle of the night with a machete doing something to my you-know-what. So I just keep it cool. But you guys know what I'm talking about. No room for a Lorena Bobbitt here. So age go, I'm really appreciating all your cool comments. So just really quick, I'm just going to talk to you about the legality of using drones to audit police in public areas. So most of the audit videos that we've seen don't really do that. And I'm talking about let's use their own spy work stuff against them. If they're going to use drones on us, why can't we use drones to audit the police, right? Nobody's really thought about that. I'm not seeing any auditors talking about it. So I thought I would get into it. So let me go ahead. Right, Jim, no Bobbitt here. So what I'm going to do is kick off my show the normal way that I do. And then I'm going to get into a couple of videos and I'm going to get into the legalities from a lawyer's perspective. I'm a California and Texas lawyer. However, I make my money from doing personal injury cases, being an inactive United States Marine and being a supporter of the Leathernecks Motorcycle Club in California and Texas. And right now heavily supporting the Peacemaker chapter in Houston. I'm all about helping, especially military veterans who have been in accidents, because let's face it, most of the personal injury lawyers are hardcore lefties, and these guys don't want to hire guys like that. They want to know when they look me in the eye and they shake my hand that they don't even need a retainer agreement. They know that I'm going to go to bat for them. And if something happens to them, I'm going to make sure their wife and kids are taken care of if they pass away. And so that's why these guys hire me, because I have a code of honor that I live by as a United States Marine. I'll just say this, guys. You join the Army, you join the Navy, you join the Air Force, you join the Coast Guard, but you become a United States Marine, and you will always be a Marine for life. And that's what makes us different than the other branches. Whether you've been in the Marines for a day or whether you've been in the Marines for 50 years, that mentality stays with you forever. It is a completely different branch. We are totally different than the other branches. You can tell a Marine, you can spot a Marine by their discipline. That's another thing that makes us different, and that's why we get all the chicks. Now, let me kick off the show, and then I'll get into the show, that all the different stuff I want to share with you. I'm going to try to get it all in about an hour and 15. It may go a little bit over, but then my kids are going to come in here bugging me because I promised to take them to Dave's and Buster's today. So let's get into it, guys. To another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news,
case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
And I almost forgot. So I also have to work for my wife and kids while I'm here. So anybody who wants to give me a super chat or any of that kind of stuff, I'll always put your comments at the front of the line. Anybody who wants to buy memberships for other people, I'll always put your comments at the front of the line, and I'll make myself available by telephone to try to answer questions for you guys throughout the week. I'd always try to do that anyways, but I'm just telling you. And then the main way that you can support my channel right now is to get a copy of the digital version of my ebook, My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. And I cover the different states that allow people to become a lawyer with no undergrad or law degree, in particular, California. This is the program that Kim P. Diddy Kardashian was on, and she ultimately was able to pass the baby bar, I think, after her third try. And the baby bar covers contracts, torts, and criminal law. And I talk about that in the digital version of this ebook. And you can get a copy of this for $19.99 by going to my profile at Michael E. Line on YouTube. And you just do the drop down, you click on the description. There's a link. If one of my moderators can put it in the sidebar, I'd appreciate it. And it's a PayPal link, $19.99. And within the next couple of days from you buying it, I'll shoot you out the digital version. And I try to keep it a living book. So as I remember things about my experience and my journey on the law office study program, I'll update the book so I don't have to keep writing volume 2s, and you'll be able to get that. So it's a living ebook. Most people don't have the ability to do that, but I do. And so I'm really, really happy about it. And by you doing that, that helps me have the ability to come on the show more, and it supports my family, because obviously this costs me an enormous amount of attorney time to be able to bring these shows to you. But let's get into the show. Today's show is going to be about the use of drones in police auditing, the legalities thereof, and the different problems and issues that will be coming up. And I'll do some reaction videos as well. I found some really cool reaction videos. But since a lot of people in my channel are, in the 40 and over crowd, hopefully you'll remember Monty Python. So I wanted to, because this is a new thing for me, because I haven't seen any auditors doing this yet.
And now for something completely different.
Yes. All right. Remember that, guys? And now for something completely different. It's Monty Python's Flying Circus. The coolest show ever if you like dry humor, which I do. So, and then obviously I want to support my friend Brick Jonesy. I just saw one of his latest shorts. So let's go ahead and watch Brick Jonesy's short that he just did. I think Brick Jonesy was at a comedy club show. So I just want to share this with y'all. Make sure to like and subscribe to Brick Jonesy's channel. He's a good buddy of mine. He supports Chili de Castro over at Delete Law. So I always like to promote any of my friends who are up and coming with new channels. Let's check it out.
Thanks to all the auditors that came. Thank God.
All right. So that's Brick Jonesy. I'm going to drop this link to his, I'm going to drop this link real quick for you guys. And then I see I got a super chat. So we got to do our cursory. Thank you for the super chat, Kyle. So Kyle just threw me a really cool super chat, and that means a lot to me, Kyle. So, hey, look, Kyle, if you ever need anything, in terms of legal advice, if it has to do with California or Texas or a federal issue that I'm able to speak about where I'm legally allowed to practice law, I'm always willing to help people, because you're helping me support my family. So I feel that it's incumbent upon me to return the favor. It's a quid pro quo with Team MPE. In the meantime, give me a bunch of OTCAFs, overturn civil asset forfeiture laws, please. That's a big deal for me. It's absolutely disgusting what's going on with these civil asset forfeiture laws. OTCAFs, and make sure to double tap that screen, because since I'm in vertical, It's harder for people to press the like button, but hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button. Go ahead and do it for me, guys. I'll never be as good of a Chili as Chili is, but I just love some of the stuff that he says. One of them is hit that like and subscribe button. So make sure and do it. And Race Gas, good seeing you. And then for all the people who just came into the chat, again, Jeff and everyone else, all you guys who I gave wrenches to, if you see another mod, if you see another guy with a wrench and you guys start battling, don't time each other out, please. I'm getting a lot of complaints from people who have been longtime mods. There's like a battle of mods timing each other out. And the whole point of my channel is I've got Republicans, I've got Democrats, I got libertarians, I've got nonpartisans, I've got Mennonite Christians, I've got people who are the guys, who are those guys? The Amish, Mormons, all these different people with different ideas. And the whole point of Team MPE is that we're able to form some sort of détente. And what that means, guys, is although we don't agree on everything, we do agree on some things, the most important things, like the Bill of Rights, right? The right of freedom of association, the right of self-defense, the right to keep and bear arms to protect yourself from tyranny, not so for hunting, but for tyranny, right? That's the whole point of the Second Amendment. Remember, the Revolutionary War was sparked off by the British king trying to seize our guns, trying to seize our powder houses. That's what sparked off the war. And they don't teach this in public schools. So again, that's another reason why I tell everybody, homeschool your kids. Malcolm X said many times, why would you let your enemy teach your children? Homeschool your kids. Homestead if you're capable of doing so. Grow your own food. Start forming parallel systems where you support one another and you don't have to buy things from Target and all these BlackRock, like Luciferian companies that are brainwashing your children and forcing this legacy media narrative down your throat that's just full of lies. Remember, the people who want to ban your speech and accuse you of misinformation are the primary purveyors of disinformation and misinformation. Repeat after me. Legacy media is the enemy. Legacy media is the enemy of the American people. And so with that being said, let's get into starting up our show. And so the first one I'm going to do, since I started off with a Monty Python, I figured I'd start off with some British accents.
So auditing videos started really in America, like many things. And the idea was to go and look at public buildings, film them and see if you can get a reaction from the people inside. Now, this has come to the UK a few years ago. And the most recent really adaptation to that is auditing with drones.
And their favourite drone is the sub 250 gram drones.
What do you think of auditors? Do you think they're just using the privileges that are granted to them under the law? Or do you think they're pushing these privileges too far? And do you think it will result in more legislation around drones?
Probably.
Tell me what you think in the comments. I'll be really interested to hear what you think.
So,
how do you know if this is an audit? Well, the chances are that they've already been about your property. They've been looking at barriers, they've been looking at security cameras, they've been looking at fences, comings and goings, and probably your security already know that they're there. They may have even spoken to them. So the drone is just to add additional pressure to make you come out and actually speak to them, which is really what they want. They want to be able to put your face on a thumbnail and get thousands or hundreds of thousands, even millions of views and make you famous. They want.
Right. So what he's talking about, obviously, guys, are loser scumbags coming around to people's homes and causing trouble. So take this with a grain of salt, because but there's not a whole lot out there. So I'm going to segue into using drones to audit public servants. But listen to what he has to say, because obviously I don't want members of Team MPE going out and causing trouble with their neighbors, all that stuff. I mean, come on, guys. Civility also applies to the First Amendment. And there's a certain amount of civility and respect. It says in the Bible to love your neighbors. It's clearly causing trouble in not loving your neighbors by flying drones around their house. It's a real problem. And if somebody did that and I wasn't home and they were trying to do that to my wife, I mean, there would be hell to pay from me. Trust me, it would be a problem. And I would imagine most of the members of Team MPE they'll find their own way to get justice, right? Because the police are always 15 minutes away when there's an emergency, right?
It won't be on the camera, it'll be you. Quite often auditors will hide their identity. Often they won't tell you who they are. It's very difficult because actually it leaves you very frustrated. But resist that temptation.
The That's right. Resist the temptation to cause trouble with
My
normal
first
people.
tip, really, and the most important one, is don't approach them. Don't go down and speak to them. Don't make yourself famous by going down there with an angry face. And don't be a thumbnail. Don't be seen by millions of people.
And to be honest, the advice that he's giving to regular folks who are getting harassed by people with drones, this is the advice that the police should follow, in my opinion. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that police should be engaged in de-escalation rather than escalating issues, because that's the big problem that we're seeing with the police audits. The only reason auditors are doing this is because the police escalate and they cause trouble, and the police auditors are trying to hold them to account in order to get these guys fired. Because imagine what they're doing when they're not on camera, guys. Imagine that.
And make it a really boring video. Simple as that. Just ignore them. They'll go eventually. It might take them an hour, it might take them 2 hours. But there's only 30 minutes of flight time on a drone battery. If I have 3 batteries, that's an hour and a half at worst case. Just ignore them. If you can't just ignore them, watch on. Here are a few things that it's pointless saying to them because they'll have all the answers for you. And all you're going to do is be that angry person that feels very frustrated. This is private property. Now, there's no actual law against flying above private property. The airspace above your property actually is a state-owned asset and it's controlled by the CAA. And there's nothing you can do about people flying above your property, unless, of course, you are in a flight restricted zone. And even in that case, the chances are that people can get permission to fly there. You have no permission to film my property. Well, the auditor will say that they don't need permission to fly and film your property, and they are doing effectively a public service. They are checking what's going on and checking for any wrongdoing, which I'll say is perfectly legal. It may or may not be, but you won't get very far unless you have their contact details to be able to take action against them. And you won't get their contact details because they have no requirement to actually give it to you, except for one thing. There's sensitive data inside. This may be the case, but it's very difficult to actually stop them from capturing the outside of a building, comings and goings, trucks moving, that sort of thing. You're not going to stop that.
That's right. And you see Google Maps, right? That's why it cracks me up when someone stands outside a government facility and they're filming and all these yahoos, these jackboots come out, these jack wagons, right? They come out and they're like, hey, you can't film here. This is private. And I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. So Google Maps gets to do satellite photos and close-up shots of the building, but a citizen can't? I mean, since when does Google have more rights than a common, ordinary citizen, right?
Who are you and where are you from? Now, it's very unlikely that they'll ever give you their information, their contact information. They'll hide their face potentially, and all they want to do is put you on camera. They won't tell you who they are because they have no requirement to. It's not written in law that they have to identify themselves to you, but they quite happily put your face on YouTube and not blur you out, even if you don't want to be.
Blow you out. Oh, that British accent is the coolest, man.
It's very important that if you feel they're doing something wrong, you document it. And when I say document, film it. You can film the drone and where it is flying. You can film the person controlling the drone. But if you document it, then any...
Well, so one of my commenters has a great point. Jim says that's not true according to old law books. Whatever is below or above is part of the property. You should fact check this. Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal, Jim. It's really based on a state-by-state basis, right? And I agree that under common law, you should be able to own the space above your property as well as below. Unfortunately, nowadays, when you purchase property, there are certain easements and certain things that you agree to as part of purchasing your property in most states that I'm aware of. But I'll get into some of the laws that I know of. And I'll tell you something, Jim, look, I'm a lawyer and I do appellate law, I do criminal law, and I specialize in catastrophic injury claims. I don't know everything, brother. I'm one of the few lawyers you're going to meet who's a pretty humble guy. All right. So if you got something, man, shoot it over to me. Come on my show and let's talk about it. I'm not going to sit here and try to say that you're wrong, man. That's not what I'm about. Team MPE is about learning. It's not about being a dickhead. It's about being a humble person and trying to learn from one another. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about iron sharpening iron. And I believe that strongly. That's why I make you guys mods. The guys with you wrenches, the guys with the wrenches, the reason you have them is because I see value in you guys. And that's why I love having you here. And I've been corrected many times, and I'm the first person to issue a retraction if I say something that's wrong. So Jim, look, man, I'm 1000% on board. You got some extra information about the land above, how it would apply modernly in your state or other states. Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about it. Let's do a show about it. Let's share it with the rest of the people of the Republic of the United States and the states.
Wrongdoing potentially could be at least documented and maybe brought up in the future.
That British accent thing.
So a little overview of sub 250 gram
so
drones.
smart.
This is based on the current legislation as it is in 2022. These drones have no separation distance between them and uninvolved people. They can be flown above any private land. You don't even need any formal training to fly these drones. But you do have to have an operator ID on the drone, either on the outside or in the battery compartment maybe. And this is one of the things you need to be looking for, actually, the operator ID, because that will identify the flyer and allow you to report this flyer potentially if you think they've done something wrong. Another thing.
So real quick, we got a comment from the sidebar here. Dan Lowfat says, Dan Lowfat, I guess that means you're on a low-fat diet. Now, I'm one of these guys on the high-fat diet. I try to drink every morning Moroccan olive oil and, steaks and fish and anything with omega-3s in it, tons of vegetables, because I believe that's how you stay lean. But once you put sugar in your body, all the fat gets stored for later use energy. So the idea is you cut out all the sugars and you go on a high omega-3, high olive oil, Moroccan-style olive oil. That's the best one because it comes from the desert. And for some reason, where there's low water, where those olives put more, I forget what they're called, but it starts with a pH something, and that they're anti-cancer chemicals. So I'm into all that stuff. But Dan Lowfat says, well, the whole thing is about granting. Yeah, you have to agree to grant an easement to things like planes flying overhead over your airspace, and that's part of the FAA has to be involved in that as well. And that's true. The FAA is involved in issuing a federal license, but states can also establish their own rules and regulations, right? And so there are so basically I can tell you as a lawyer, if you have a reasonable expectation of privacy, then it would be illegal for that drone to film you. Well, how would you have a reasonable expectation of privacy? Well, clearly, if a drone flew in through an open window and came into your house to film you getting it on with your, well, if you're Tim Waltz, I guess his wife with another guy, right, and filmed that, then probably that would be an invasion of the right to privacy. But if it's outside your house and you were dumb enough to leave your window open, it probably you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. So what I recommend is people who want to be safe from drones and they want to skinny dip or, mess around in their backyard with no clothes on, to build a cover that, that doesn't allow those drones to see in. And that way you could argue that you have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Now, here's another problem. If you try to shoot one of those drones down, you're going to probably be the one who gets prosecuted unless you had a reasonable expectation of privacy. Obviously, if it was in your house and you took out the drone, I think you would be okay, right? And if it's right up next to your window trying to peep inside, I think you might have an argument. But get advice from a lawyer in your state and do the research. Don't just take my word for it. Let's keep watching.
The flyer can't do, they can't overfly a crowd. Now, a crowd is defined as a group of people that can't move away if a drone were to fall.
I agree, Steve.
So that might be 5 people in a garden. It might be 50 people in a yard. It might be 1,000 people at a festival. There's no defined number. But if you do go down and speak to them, be very friendly, treat them like royalty, take them a cup of tea or a biscuit or both, because the less interesting you are on video, the less views this is going to get. So if you're now in the situation where you're going to go down and speak to them, what will you say? Firstly, where are they flying from? Is it your property they're flying from? If it is, you can ask them to stop and to leave. If they don't leave, it could be an aggravated trespass, which is reason to call the police.
Right. So what he's talking about is the people with their little controllers. If they're standing on your property and it's your property, well, obviously that's a trespass. But flying over your property, that's the issue that we have issues with. Let's keep going.
Chances are they're flying from publicly accessible land,
right,
or from public land. Publicly accessible land, it doesn't necessarily mean it's public. It could be private land that has access through it. And if it is private land,
Jimmy.
you can maybe speak to the owner of that land and maybe ask them to stop,
Dan, I
ask
used to
the
live in
pilot to
Scotland,
stop
buddy.
and leave.
Aye,
Can I see your operator ID? The operator ID should be on the drone. And even though there's no requirement in law for them to show you, it's kind of like a number plate. If a number plate is on a vehicle, then it's there to identify it. So there should be no reason that they can't share that with you. If they don't give you the operator ID, which they must have on their drone by law, maybe this is an opportunity to speak to the police and check if the police can get the operator ID, because it is a requirement that it is on the drone. Having the operator ID gives you the opportunity to identify this person. And you can do that potentially through the CAA. Can they still find their drone in the sky? Ask them.
So you can see he's talking about the British laws. He's got to say laws, right? British laws. By the way, Jimmy, I used to live in Scotland, man, and we didn't like the English at all, mate. We didn't like them. But how you are anyways, mate? I love it that you're talking about drones, eh? Aye, Jimmy.
If they've been chatting to you for the past couple of minutes and not looking at the drone, do they still know where it is? It's one of the requirements that you must be able to see the drone in the sky. You can't fly it beyond a visual line of sight. So can they still find it in the sky? If not, you want to document this because it's a potential rule breach. Document it. If they can find it, now can you keep an eye on it too? Does it fly behind trees that makes it then not visible? Does it fly behind buildings that again makes it not visible? So again, document this, and if you can't see it, then maybe they can't see it. How far away is the drone?
That's the law in America.
Now you should be able to see on the screen if they show it to you how far.
For all you Americans, all you Yanks, man. I don't think that's the law in the United States, mate. So I really don't think that's the law in America, but it's interesting to see there are some parallels. Remember, Americans are always considered themselves to be English for probably for the 100 years after the Revolution. They still consider themselves to be Englishmen. Americans really are Englishmen. We just forced our way out of the King's English system, because no matter how many times the English, beheaded a king or revolted against a king, and the king signed a Magna Carta or signed a charter or a Bill of Rights, at some point the king went and tried to steal their rights away again, like he did to the colonists. So they finally said it comes time now. The Americans said it's time to throw off the chains. But other than that, the laws, are pretty similar, except that Britain's way more of a surveillance state because they don't have a First Amendment. Unfortunately, the left in this country wants to make us like the United Kingdom, which is really sad. I believe that the modern day left would have been royalists supporting the King of England. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me.
The drone is away from where it took off from. In the UK, the maximum distance that the CAA consider that you can see a drone is 500 meters, or as far as you can see it. Now, it's unlikely that you'll see a mini drone, like a sub-250 drone, at 500 meters. You might see it 100 meters, it might be 200 meters, but you need to be able to see the drone in that sky. And if they've flown it more than 500 meters, maybe, again, it's broken the law. Equally, you can take off from a location, walk 100 meters, and it doesn't give you the distance from the controller, it gives you the distance from the takeoff and landing position.
Well, yeah, this is British, so it's different than America, but there are some
Even
parallels.
though sub-250 gram drones have lots and lots of freedoms, there's something actually that covers all drones, and that's set out in the CAA document, which is the CAP 393, and it's section 241. What this states, if I paraphrase, is that you must not recklessly endanger people or property through your flight.
And that's American style.
This could mean flying too close to people. It could mean that they are distracting people operating machinery. It could mean that they've flown too close to a vehicle or taken off and landed from a place that was unsuitable. Maybe that place is a busy street, it's a busy road maybe. So think about that when you're gathering evidence.
Yeah. Pretty good video so far. I give it an 8.
So now the auditor has gone. If you think you have the right evidence, then maybe you need to forward this to the police, maybe make an incident report. You won't necessarily be able to stop this person, but you might be able to help the next person if enough evidence is built up that there's a pattern of behavior here, it might be raised as being more serious.
So Jim asks, what does BAR mean? Well, BAR means Browning automatic rifle, one of the best weapons ever built, brother. And I actually have a demilitarized BAR. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you. I also have a demilitarized MG34. Man, that thing weighs like freaking 60 pounds. I can't imagine being a German soldier carrying that thing.
It's worth reporting this if you think that somebody's broken the law. I'd be interested to hear if you've been audited by a drone and how it went and what your thoughts were on that. Did it end up being a positive experience, I wonder? What do you think about drone auditing? Is it a really good thing that you can actually see more with a drone? Or is it just something that someone's doing to make a really lazy video and make some money? Even if you haven't been audited, maybe you know somebody who is part of a business that could be. Maybe it's worth sharing the video with them or with their organization. Maybe it might help them out in the future. Yeah. YouTube loves you to interact with the video. That's so whether that be through comment, through a thumbs up, or whether you subscribe, YouTube loves it.
And real quick, guys, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and drop his link. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Go ahead and like and subscribe to this Englishman's channel if you liked it. And let him know that Michael Eline over at Michael Eline sent you, so he knows who I am. Because I'd like to have him come on the show, because I believe that over in England, I would like to learn a little bit about their laws when it comes to auditing police, because that's what this show is about. But I wanted to have his video first, because obviously I started out with the Monty Python and now for something completely different, because this is totally different than our typical police audit videos that we do, right, guys? So I wanted to have an Englishman on and see what they have to say. And he's talking about audits where people go out and audit neighbors and harass neighbors and stuff. I don't want people like that doing that. That's crazy. I'm talking about auditing the police because we want to hold them accountable. And so because of that, this is my next video. And it's not too long. Again, guys, it's not going to be a super long show today. I have a lot on my plate, but I'll get into this video and then I'll explain the law to you. And then we'll get into letting you guys go to lunch. So here we go.
We'll give you everything. Who are you?
I don't need to provide that.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
If I'm asking you who you are and why you're videotaping our facility, you have to provide me with some kind of identification. So do you have
to require identification under the law, you need to be able to articulate a crime that I'm about to commit or I have committed.
Okay. You're going around, you're videotaping our state police facility for no apparent reason, and if I'm asking you who you are, you have to provide me with identification.
I don't have to,
no. It's just like anything else.
No, it's not.
Yes, you do.
I don't.
Yes, you do.
In fact, your public information officer already has dealt with this here, and so has a few other officers. So
I don't care who's dealt with it. I'm asking you for identification because I want to know who you are right now. Well, I want to know what your reasoning is for videotaping our facility.
Well, first of all, Supreme Court has covered that filming out in public is perfectly legal.
I don't care what.
And that is not a suspicion of crime. So therefore, you have no suspicion of crime.
Did you hear that? This guy said, "I don't care what the U.S. Supreme Court has to say." So, guys, do yourselves a favor and look up Marbury versus Madison, Marbury versus Madison. And maybe you guys should send a copy of this over to this guy's police department so he gets an opportunity to know the law that he took an oath to uphold and defend. What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you think this guy needs to learn a little bit about the Constitution before he goes out and tries to convince people to give up their rights. What do you guys have to say? Give me a bunch of ones if you think the cop is in the right. Give me a bunch of twos if you think that this man here who is upholding and supporting the First Amendment to the United States as an auditor is in the right.
Listen, you can cite whatever you want.
Right.
Why are you videotaping? That's what I'm asking right now.
I don't have to answer that.
Well, I want to see a form of identification, identifying who you are, why you're outside my facility right now videotaping us.
I don't have to provide that either.
Why not? Why do you feel that you do not have to perform any form of
Because that's the law.
No, it's not. If
yes,
you're out here and I want to know why.
So here's the better way to respond. I'm going to go ahead and rely on the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. And to be honest with you, I want to help you, officer. But under the Sixth Amendment, what I'd like to do before I answer any more questions is to have my lawyer come over here and join us. So if you're okay with allowing me to get my lawyer on the phone and have him get over here, I'm going to remain silent from this point forward until my lawyer gets here. And I'm not going to say anything else, officer. So either you can leave or we can wait for my attorney. And that's it. Stop talking to the guy, because all he's doing is engaging in an investigation against himself. All this cop is doing is basically forcing this guy to engage in an investigation against himself. Never, ever, ever engage in a conversation with a cop, because all he's doing is doing an investigation to try and get reasonable articulable suspicion or probable cause to make an arrest, put the torture cuffs on you, take you to the dungeon, and take your money. That's what his job is. They are road pirates. I don't care what anybody says. This confrontation right here is proof enough.
You're videotaping our facility, and you have to provide me some form of identification. You just can't come and walk away anytime you want and just come up with your things and fly them over our lot. I want to know who you are and why you're videotaping this right now.
That's true, Kyle.
The supervisor, somebody higher up.
Sure, here's my sergeant. He's coming out right now.
And he'll tell you.
Okay, no problem.
Officer Fugari. Officer
Hey, Ryan.
Maniscal.
He was flying the drone out in front, videotaping. All I'm doing is asking for a form of identification so we can identify who he is. He's refusing.
Go to the first sergeant, not a problem. Not a problem.
As much as he wants. We don't have to get any form of identification.
He can videotape, not a problem.
All right.
Okay.
So you were wrong?
And the cop knew that the whole time, by the way, guys. They go to briefings, and all these two ground pounders here, they know the law already. It's just that their protocol is, if they can't make the arrest, if they can't scare the crap out of the guy to get an arrest against him or issue him some kind of a citation, ultimately they have to wait until it's like doing a sales gig, right? Someone comes into your car lot, right? And you can't make the sale, right? So you go, well, let me get my manager and see if I can get you a better deal. That's all they're doing. And then the manager comes and does what they call a drop close. In this case, the drop close is, let this guy go. He obviously knows his rights. You already know that he knows his rights. Thanks for calling me out. This is what they do. Give me a bunch of ones if any of you know people on the police force, or have inside information like I do, having worked for the prosecutor's office and having many friends who are whistleblowers who worked for the police department that I've represented in lawsuits against the police for whistleblowing.
You were wrong.
Go ahead, my sergeant. Yes, I was.
So you learned something today. That's good.
Okay, don't worry.
You already knew it. You already knew it. You already knew it.
You hear me?
I can hear you.
Right? Race gas.
For the inconvenience. Right now with the drones, there's a lot of this. I said, sorry for the inconvenience. Right now with the drones, there's a lot of, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say misinformation, but it's an area that we're not used to dealing with. All right.
Well, that's apparent. I've dealt with your troopers already.
Yeah,
on this.
I'm sure you have it. Not a problem. That's why I came out here. I saw that he was talking to you. So
You probably should educate them a little bit more on it. It's going to be a
Trust
more,
me,
it's
they
kind of
already
an area
know.
that's new to everybody, and until they have legislation on it,
which there is none.
right. So sorry for the inconvenience. Okay.
Alrighty, have a good one.
You too, sir.
Just unfreaking believable, guys. Get this moving a little forward. All right.
Yeah,
It has a camera.
yeah.
What do you guys use it for?
Just like flying around.
Is the camera recording?
Huh?
Is the camera recording?
Right now?
So you can see this police officer is interrogating this guy. Like, you can barely see it, but to the lower left of your screen in white lettering. And again, you guys can rewatch this on your big computer and blow it up or whatever. But I'm just trying to help you understand what's going on right now. This guy's out here. Looks like there's an officer in this parking lot. You can see, kind of looks like he's got a weapon on his side. And there's another cop who is interrogating him. And obviously the purpose of the interrogation, the purpose of the police encounter is to try and make an arrest. That's the only reason cops talk to people, is because they're trying to find a way to make an arrest. I don't care what anybody says. That's the real reason.
Yeah, this one is.
No, not that one. That's the one inside the device.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see. So he was filming himself while the cop was interrogating him. Smart move. See the cops in the background there? I don't know if you guys saw that. See the police car?
Yeah, probably because of the wind. Yeah.
Looks fun, huh? Looks super fun.
That's 200. Where are you going? Where are you going? Down. You're not going down, are you?
Not going down, going backward.
That should be good right there. For lost connection.
Does that thing have a camera?
Yeah.
It has a camera?
Yeah.
Here comes the interrogation.
What do you guys use it for?
Just like flying around.
Is the camera recording?
Huh?
Is the camera recording?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is.
No, not that one. The one inside the device.
Oh yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
What are you guys using for?
For a YouTube video.
For what? YouTube channel? Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll give you the camera. What is this device?
It's a quadcopter. Quadcopter?
A what?
Quadcopter?
Quad?
Yeah.
A quadcopter.
Yeah.
As it looks? It doesn't look difficult at all. But
Here, let me give a bunch of testimony so you can figure out a way to arrest me.
It's not easy here. It's easy up. So here you can do damage to it.
Right.
Yeah.
No. I don't want to mess with it.
You can.
It looks simple.
It is.
Right.
When it's up. But here is difficult. Like when
Right.
you're trying to land it and get it up, that's the difficult part.
That's right.
Because it's not gonna.
I've tried. They're kind of
Right.
tough to deal with.
You can't hit anything. Right. Exactly.
You get something like that. You get these
We got
online.
lucky with this guy.
How far can it? How much reach?
These go for $1,200.
And look, guys, when my dad was growing up, they used to drag race on the 22 freeway while it was under construction back in Orange County. And that's when drags were the big thing. You know, you had 327 Chevy, and the rich guys had the Mopars. And the kids would go out there and drag race their built cars, and the cops would come and watch, and the police knew everybody in the neighborhood. And that's when we had peace officers. But the modern day police have become akin to like the Gestapo, and it's just about raising revenue. They're extremely angry about Uber and Lyft because they're not able to generate as much money now. They hate auditors because auditors will stake out their speed traps and prevent them from making as many arrests. So it's all about raising revenue. Even the name charges, all it charges is think about it. What do you do when you go to the store? There's a charge for what you purchase, right? In this case, they're trying to charge you for your freedom in the modern day police era. And that's the problem that I have with modern day policing. It's no longer community policing or peace officers. It's just a bunch of people trying to make arrests and establishing authority. And they wonder why people hate them so much.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
That's why this is the Google is
Okay.
Yeah.
DJI.
Yeah, this is version 2.
All right, so I always want to like kind of fast forward to get away from the music because we always run into trouble. There we go.
Never know. What's your name? Is that yours?
Lucky guy. Give me a bunch of ones for that lucky guy.
What difference does it make if I'm a police officer?
I am in my man cave today, so I'm getting away with it. Okay, so what do you got to do with the Starsky and Hutch show?
Obviously, they don't like this idea. Here we go.
Okay, record.
It's recording.
There we go.
Doing good.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
Great.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah. Maybe I can learn this first?
I can't tell you what to do with that thing other than
Yeah, I
that
feel like
thing.
you're
Yeah,
right.
this side of that case.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, sir. First of all, thing's very cool.
Okay.
Which I have.
Okay.
Listen, you have the right to record anything you want on this side of the case. Okay. That's not public domain.
Okay.
The same way that you have
Once
to be
he's in
authorized
federal
person to
airspace,
drive
it is.
that vehicle, you'd be authorized person to drive overhead department.
Okay.
So you know, if you value that thing and you want to keep it, it would probably be a good idea.
Extortion.
Okay,
So-
whether or not I agree with
extortion, right? If you value that thing and you want to keep it, you won't fly it over this building, even though, according to the FCC regulations, it's federal airspace. Now I could be wrong, guys, but based on the general law, I think this cop is wrong.
you, the battery just died, and I feel like I had no choice but to land it. So I don't see it going back over on that side of the gate.
Okay, just want you to understand, like, the same way that you're not allowed to go park your vehicle anymore.
Thanks,
It's not the
Steve
same
Conkler. I
thing.
appreciate that, brother.
Aircraft.
Do you guys tell people that can't fly their planes or their helicopters over the top of this building?
The FAA tells them they can only go a certain
That's right.
height above it.
I'm within the FAA regulations. But like I said, the battery's dead. So we're done.
Okay. All right. Well, if we address the issue again, we'll talk about it. For now, let's go bygone to bygone. But
By the way, everybody, give Steve Conkler a bunch of ones. He just was promoted to moderator on my channel. Steve, always remember, whenever I promote moderators, moderators do not time out or ban other moderators. That's one rule that I have. You guys are all like fellow Marines now. So if you got an issue with each other, you request mast and talk to me, and we'll work it out offline. But remember, moderator has a big responsibility. Your job is to make sure you keep out all these gaslighting commies from our channel so we can have useful discourse instead of have a bunch of gaslighters who just throw truth out the window in exchange for trying to cause trouble.
like I said, that is for authorized personnel only. You are not that unless you have some ID you have to show me.
I don't have an idea. I'm going to show you.
Officer Farnage. Farnage, great, thank you.
So can we shoot it straight up right here and shoot that way? If we
No,
see it on
it's the
side
same
of
thing
the
as a
fence?
trespass.
If we see it on the side of the fence, though, with
It's the
it,
same
and we
thing as a
shot it
trespass.
straight
You're
up.
capturing images. You're capturing images inside the parking lot of private citizens and other people.
So even if it's on this side, it's shot straight up from where I am.
But
and
see, it's
right
capturing
here.
it's capturing images in the parking lot. It's capturing images of it could be council members, it could be policemen, it could be private.
It could be public officials. It could be people who are being paid by tax dollars. And basically what they're saying is, even though Google gets to do it, you can't do it, right? So with Google Maps, it's just absurd what these guys are saying.
Public property, though? Is it not?
No, my personal information isn't necessarily public.
But you are a public servant, correct?
But I'm in a uniform. I'm a police sergeant, but it doesn't make all the contents of my vehicle something that you have access to.
We have an expectation of privacy here. That's why you would have an expectation of privacy.
The cops are filming me before I prison.
Same way, if I went to your home and you were growing something illegally in your backyard, I can't just go to the face.
Yeah, you'd have to get a warrant because he's a cop.
You guys, just want to say we appreciate this dialogue.
You hear what this clown said? It's the same way as if I went to your house and you were growing some weed in the backyard. I couldn't just do that. Well, actually, you know what? He could, and it would be covered under the plain view doctrine. But I kind of know what he's talking about. It sounds to me like he's talking out of his butt, like most of these guys do. So just really quick before we move on, I had an issue with one of my, trying to find it. Maybe I won't be able to do it. Okay. I had an issue, guys, with Steve Ladner, and I really like Steve, and he doesn't want to come on my channel anymore because he got timed out a bunch of times yesterday on one of my lives. So I'm going to put his link in the sidebar because this is kind of like a Jesus thing, right? Where he went to rescue the sheep on the Sabbath. I mean, I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but it's a lesson that I learned. This is the way that you show people that you care about them. I just dropped Steve Ladner's link in the sidebar there. And I would like it if you guys would all go and like and subscribe to his channel, please. Pretty please, for me. And ask him to come back to Team MPE. And tell him that I've already talked to all my moderators and asked them to not time out other moderators. He is a moderator of my channel, and he's been with me for, I don't know, almost 6 months. And I just hate to lose people who I value. And so I would really appreciate it if you guys would go to Steve Ladner's channel, let him know to watch this video, and to let him know that I've told all my moderators, please don't time each other out. If you got a problem, talk to me about it, and we'll work it out offline. You guys know I've got an open door policy. This is about having a good time and about sharing core principles. Look, there's Republicans, there's lefties. Well, not really many lefties come on this channel because they hate freedom, but there are, like classical liberals like me. There are Republicans, and there are a lot of people that are free thinkers that are on my channel, and Steve's one of them. And I want Steve Ladner back on my channel, guys. Steve is a legit dude, and I'm just going to real quick just share. Hold on a minute. Let me just get him. Let me get his link. Before we get into back to the video, I just want to share with you what his channel looks like. Go over to his channel, please, guys. There he is, Steve Ladner. I just dropped the link in the sidebar. go check out Steve Ladner's channel and say, come back to Team MPE. Comment on the only video that he's got and say, Team MPE wants you back. He's talked to the moderators. Nobody's going to time you out anymore. And if they do, Mike's going to raise hell, because we don't time out our brothers, right? We're all here to speak freely. Once you have that wrench, that means that you've earned it. You are now a United States MPE Marine. So let's get back to the video. But I just want you guys to see that the reason why I like this channel and the reason why I do this is because I care about people, and I don't want to lose people because they think that they're being timed out by a fellow mod. I mean, would you like that? No, of course you wouldn't. So let's get Steve Ladner back, and then let's get into the video. All right.
Thank you guys for
Are you guys growing something illegal back there?
I'm saying, purely hypothetically.
And then walk there. So.
Hi.
Oh, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We don't allow these in the park.
Okay.
It's a public safety issue. Something
Do you have
happens and it takes off, hits someone in the head. We're liable. So
Do you have a regulation that says that, or
it's our regulation?
Can you show me that? That'd be.
It's not specific for drones. It's specific for any aircraft over park property.
Can you show me that? Would that be?
We don't have lists, no, but you have to.
Well, where could I find that then?
So just so you guys know, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States requires that in order to be charged or convicted with an offense, that you have to have notice and opportunity to know the nature and the cause of the action. Remember this, you have to be able to be reasonably apprised of the nature and the cause of the action. And right now, this cop or whoever he is, this scoundrel, is basically being a jackboot, being a jackwagon, right? And he's not giving him an opportunity to respond to the charge. He's basically saying, you know, I'm the law, and if you don't like it, I'm going to put you in torture cuffs and throw you in jail, and then you can sort it out after you spend $5,000 or $6,000 on a lawyer. That's basically what he's doing. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys understand what I'm saying. Look up the 14th Amendment. It's the Due Process Clause. Take a look at it.
It's online. I mean, where can I confirm that, right? Because I mean, what's that? Yes, I am. No, thank you.
Don't wreck the ranch.
But can you show me that regulation? I don't mean to cause a problem. I'm not trying to argue with you guys. I don't want to be difficult.
Right now,
Well,
we have a beautiful aircraft park. There's like great top military aircraft. They get there, fly all you want, but it has to be in the aircraft area park.
Right, I understand, but I understand. But I would just.
Yeah, he just wanted to know what his rights were because the cop wouldn't tell him. So here's what we'll do now, guys. So again, I don't have like 2 hours to share with you guys. So I'll do my spiel again really quick. If you want to support my channel, obviously super chats go to the front of the line. All your comments go to the front of the line. But the best way to support Team MPE and my family is to get the digital version of my ebook. And if you go to my profile, I talk about my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And it's $19.99 to get the digital version of this book. And it's sort of like a living Bible, because what I do is digital, but I have the ability to make changes to your ebook. So every time you log in, I can make edits. If I see a problem with it, or if one of you guys reaches out to me and says, hey, there was a typo or a grammatical error, I'll fix it. So I'll make it better for the next person. And so, you know, as I add chapters to it, you won't be charged for that. This is a book that I've been working on for years. I became a lawyer on the law office study program, which means you had to pass the baby bar, which had contracts, torts, and criminal law. It had less than a 10% pass when I took it. Kim Kardashian passed it on her third attempt. It's very difficult. And then I became a lawyer about 4 years after that. And I also ended up going to a law school and got a JD because people were saying, oh, you have to go to law school, which is ridiculous. It was a total waste of time and money. I would have never done it. I would never do it again. But it talks about my journey and how I was able to do it. And it also explains some of the other states that offer the program. So if you want to support my channel, that's one of the best ways you can do it, is to get a copy of my ebook. And I'll show it to you one more time. It's about my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. Now, really quick, I'm just going to close by sharing the law with you as it stands now. And these are general legal principles, okay, with respect to drones and auditing police officers, because so far we haven't really seen a bunch of auditors deploying drones with like long distance microphones, right, to capture what these cops are doing. And I still don't understand why people aren't doing that. Instead, they're getting up close in their face and risking arrest. But if they were doing it covertly, they could probably catch these guys having discussions about how we're going to violate this person's rights. Hey, good job smashing that guy's camera, right? You'd get so much more evidence, right, that could be helpful to help people that are falsely arrested. And that's the whole point of the First Amendment, is to hold your government accountable, so we never again have a King George who is quartering troops in our homes, right? I mean, we just saw that the current administration now has weaponized the United States military. Apparently, they're afraid that once they take power again, who knows how they're going to do it, but if they do, they want to mobilize the military against us if we protest. And obviously, that's a violation, I believe, of the Constitution, which provides that there shall be no standing army for a longer than a period of 2 years. And that's why there is a Senate appropriations every 2 years to fund the military, except for, I think, the Navy is the only one that's allowed to stand. And that's because our military ideals were modeled after ancient Rome, where there were no Roman soldiers allowed to be within Rome. And Julius Caesar violated that by crossing, I believe it was the Tiber. And that was the beginning of the end of their republic. And so we see history repeating itself. We'll have that discussion for another time. Holy crap. I got an thank you, Steve. Steve Conkler, super chat. Everybody go and like and subscribe to Steve Conkler, please, and give him a bunch of ones and thank him for supporting Team MPE. And again, guys, please reach out to Steve Ladner. I'm really, you know what, man? I'm losing sleep over this. This guy has been a loyal member, and he reached out to me like in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. last night. And for some reason, it was like a divine providence, man. I woke up and I saw this really quick. I want to show this. For some reason, I saw the message from Steve, and I was just totally befuddled. And I was like, what? Somebody timed you out. What are you talking about? You're a moderator. I honestly thought that once you had a wrench, other people couldn't time you out. I thought you were clear from that. So I'm telling you guys, if you guys are a moderator on my channel, don't time each other out. The reason that guy has a wrench is because he's been vetted. He's one of us. So the last thing I want is infighting. A house divided against itself will not stand. So make sure that you guys understand that. And if you got a problem with each other, reach out to me offline and we'll fix it. But I want to keep you guys around. You guys are too valuable. Everybody that's on my channel is a gift, is a precious person who understands that we're a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy, guys. Our founding fathers hated democracy. They said that democracy was self-destructive. That's just taught in the Marxist education system. People have been brainwashed to think that we're a democracy. Democracy is when two wolves and a sheep show up for dinner to decide what's on the menu. A republic is where two wolves and a well-armed sheep show up for dinner and decide what's on a menu. Republic is about individual rights. You can't have minority rights unless you respect the rights of the individual. And freedom and happiness come from the right to own property. So remember that property was the basis of natural law that we invoked as the principle by which our foundational government would be founded. And the government is supposed to be bound by the chains of the Constitution, not the other way around. Somebody should tell that to Ms. Harris, who wants to take away patent rights and who seems to believe that wealth redistribution, buying votes, in my opinion, is the only way that you can maintain power. I believe the way you maintain power is with freedom and giving people their dignity and their property rights to be left alone. That's what America is all about, in my opinion, and based upon the statements of our founding fathers, which most of the people like her hate if you listen to her speeches. Now, let's talk a little bit about public and private spaces and drones. So the key distinction often made in legal discussions around drone surveillance is whether the activity occurs in public or private spaces. Generally, activities in public spaces are considered to have a lower expectation of privacy. I think we all know that. That's why we can film the police, right? Because it's a public space. Now, this principle is reflected in court rulings where aerial surveillance from public navigable airspace has been deemed to not constitute a search under the Fourth Amendment if it's akin to what could be observed with the naked eye. And so in law school, they'll teach you about the plain view doctrine, right? So if a cop looks into your car window and sees you got a bunch of drugs or child porn or whatever you're doing in your car, and they see it and it's in plain view, they don't need a warrant to make that arrest, right? But if they break into your car to find that, that's called fruit of the poisonous tree. So I'm giving you guys a little bit of legal education, people who are not lawyers. That would be called fruit of the poisonous tree. And there could be an exception even to fruit of the poisonous tree, like exigent circumstances, that you had to break into the car because it was on fire and it was found incident to the search. So there's a lot of little issues you need to be aware of. Don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. That's what I encourage you to do, because I want people to be critical thinkers on my channel. I don't want you to be drones who are like my followers. I'm not a cult leader, guys. I'm just one of you guys who happens to have been blessed with a high IQ and parents who taught me to use common sense. I mean, I read Thomas Paine's book, Common Sense, right? Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. So these were the foundational principles that I grew up on because my parents wanted me to be a critical thinker. So I grew up born in the spirit of rebellion that our founding fathers believed in. And so that's part of my personality. So I want you guys to understand that. So the next thing would be state regulations. Several states have enacted laws that might affect the use of drones for surveillance, including use by civilians and without a warrant, including surveillance by police without a warrant. Even by law enforcement, might be considered illegal if it's intended for surveillance purposes, right? So if they're out there flying drones for surveillance, there could still be an issue. However, laws vary widely, and other states might have different thresholds or requirements for drone use. I mean, ultimately, guys, I think there's going to be probably a Supreme Court decision that's going to have to come out in order to really, because there's what's going to happen is there's going to be jurisdictional splits, right, between appellate courts and states. And ultimately, it's going to get so bad that the Supreme Court's going to have to step in and make up their mind. And so that's the problem is when you have justices like Ketanji Brown or whatever her name is say that she's worried about the First Amendment because it hamstrings government. You be very careful who you vote for, because if you vote for Harris and Tampon Tim, you're going to have probably a couple more justices like her who don't believe in the original meaning of the First Amendment. When I hear statements like that from a justice that it unfairly hamstrings the government, at least that's my interpretation of what she says, that gives me cause for concern that the republic will die on the pyre of Marxist judges. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. If you vote for the wrong politician, even if you don't agree with that politician's other views, I happen to always be a single issue voter. I'm a Second Amendment voter. Dick Heller is one of my clients, District of Columbia versus Heller. I did not represent him on those cases, but I do represent him in other matters. And I also help him with the Heller Foundation. And he stays with my family and I when he comes into town. And he's a dear friend. And I'd also like it if you guys would support him on Twitter, X, Real Dick Heller, as well as supporting him at the Heller Foundation. The Heller Foundation. Just Google it, please. Now, federal laws and guidelines about drones. While there isn't a direct federal law explicitly banning or allowing civilians to use drones for auditing police, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, regulates the airspace where drones fly, right? We know that. So for drones to be used for surveillance or auditing in a legal manner, they must comply with FAA regulations concerning airspace, especially if they operate beyond visual line of sight. And that's what the British guy was saying. So it looks like their CAA and our FAA are very similar, right? So, you got to be careful. And that's why the police are asking, are you using that drone for surveillance? Because they're trying to figure out a way to make an arrest, right? So there's also First Amendment considerations beyond. I don't care what the FAA says. Just like the ATF, when they want to come and take away my suppressors, or tell me that my weapon, when I put an arm brace on it, has now become a short-barreled rifle, and therefore it's illegal, right? Those guys always think forfeiture. The ATF, probably one of the most evil, destructive organizations on the planet, totally hypocritical and violation of our Second Amendment. They should be banned forever. Give me a bunch of ones if you think the ATF should be obliterated from the face of the planet in a legal way. Now, the First Amendment is what I'm concerned with. The act of filming or photographing in public spaces, including police activities, might be protected under the First Amendment as freedom of speech and press. However, how this applies to drones might still be in legal gray areas, and I think that it is, especially if the drone's presence interferes with law enforcement or operations of public safety. Privacy concerns. Using drones to audit police might raise privacy issues, not just for the officers, but for bystanders or individuals caught in the footage. Laws like federal video voyeurism could come into play, and that's 18 USC, section 1801. Take a look at it. But I don't think so. I don't think that recording police officers during an arrest with a drone is a voyeurism thing. I just think that's stupid. But, you know, there are people who think that it might be. So that's why I'm bringing it up. So basically, if someone had a reasonable expectation of privacy, but this typically relates to private areas rather than public spaces, like I just said. Case law and public sentiment. There's a growing discussion and some legislative interest in how technology, including drones, can or should be used for public safety versus privacy rights. Public sentiment, as reflected in posts on platforms like X, often debates these issues, but individual cases might set precedents. For instance, while some may argue that filming from public spaces should be allowed due to the observational nature, others point to privacy laws that might restrict such activities under certain conditions. Practical considerations. Even if legally permissible, there might be practical restrictions or considerations like local ordinances or police department policies about when and how surveillance should be done by police auditor drones. But again, those aren't laws. Those are policies. Those are ordinances. And until we see the ordinance and it's explained to us, we're not put on proper notice. So that guy at the park telling, well, it's just our policy, it's a public danger. Yeah, that's BS, man. Now, obviously, if you want to argue with the guy, he's probably going to put you in torture cuffs, take you to the dungeon, deprive you of your money and property, and you might get beat up or assaulted while you're in that dungeon. And that's all a jail is. It's a dungeon. It's a place to torture people for not going along with Big Brother's edicts, in my opinion, for the most part. There are some cases, you know, where people should be there, of course. But for the most part, we're seeing people thrown in jail over nonsense, right? For standing up for their First Amendment rights. I'm talking about auditors. I'm not talking about every single case that people are thrown in jail. But I believe with the private prison industrial complex, things are just going to get worse, guys. So give me a bunch of ones if you believe we should abolish private prisons. And now, in closing, again, go check out, please go to Steve Ladner's channel. I'm going to drop his link one more time. I'm just really bummed out that this guy is so bummed. You know, I'm bummed that he left us with a bad taste in his mouth. We need as many people as we can get supporting Team MPE. And he's one of us, guys. We need to get him back. You know, somebody just pissed him off. A fellow moderator timed this dude out. Moderators don't time moderators out on Team MPE. We're all fellow brothers and sisters here. So, you know, that's Steve's channel. I dropped the link again in the sidebar. And so in closing, all I want to say is that I really, really, really appreciate everybody showing up and supporting Team MPE. If you have videos that you'd like me to discuss and share with others, or you have legal questions, or if you're a volunteer, if you know how to do HTML5, JavaScript, if you know how to work on WordPress websites, I sure could use some help on the michaeleline.com website, getting out patriotic articles. I'm trying to create a separate page that I'm going to call Parallel Systems. It's going to be my Parallel Systems page where I put all of your businesses and list them alphabetically. So if any of you guys have a private business, I've got one guy, I think he's a plumber. I think it's called Bayou Plumbing or Bayou Contracting. I think he's based in Texas. I want to put his business on there. So if you guys ever need a patriotic dude who will look you in the eye and shake your hand and you'll know that they're going to do the job, that's the kind of people that I want on my channel, people who are honorable. And so, you know, that's why I got a lot of Marines and retired Navy SEALs who love my show. So, and other guys too, but we're not going to get into that right now. I like Army guys too, but like I said before, you know, I'm all about the Marine Corps. I'm all about the high-speed units because they seem to have a higher level of discipline and love for their brothers. And so those are the kind of people that I want. And that is the energy that I want all of you guys to invoke. So guys, I promised my kids I'd take them to Dave's and Buster's. So I gotta leave now, but make sure to like and subscribe, make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And just because this was the first show that I've ever done that talks about drones, and I had a little bit of an English thing going on today, I just got to do it one more time, guys. So don't leave just yet. I got to do it one more time just so you guys remember this cool show that we did today.
And now for something completely different.
Yes. The coolest, man. The coolest. So guys, right, Jeff? The coolest, right? So I want to thank you guys. So I want to thank you, Kevin. Hold on. Let's get them all. Kevin, Avilian, Jim, Age Go, Kyle, Apex Aviators, Dakota, Race Gas is always love you, brother. Race Gas, fellow Bally's Total Fitness employee, Press for Transparency, and Press for Transparency. Why don't you come on my show? So Press for Transparency makes an interesting statement. Let's see if I can find it where I can get it up here. Well, Press for Transparency. Okay, here we go. He says, cop watching from a drone isn't easy as it seems when flying over vehicles and people is unlawful. Well, I want you to come on my show, bro. Let's talk about it, and let's work together in coming up with a way to do it where it is lawful. Let's try to find those gray areas, because I believe that's one way to avoid getting the crap beat out of you and getting your phone smashed by one of these thugs, is if you use long distance recording microphones and you do it in a way, maybe you're doing it at an angle, but you can still hear what they're saying and you can do close-ups. Just something to think about. I don't know, but look, I'm a lawyer, but I don't know everything. So Press for Transparency, you're absolutely invited to come on my show as a guest and talk about your experiences. Send me some reaction videos. If you've got a channel, I'm willing to come on your channel and talk about it. The idea is we want to educate people and learn from each other, like iron sharpening iron. Far be it from me to suggest that I'm smarter than any of you. I just happen to be educated in certain areas about things that some of you are not. And then other areas, it could be like iron sharpening iron, where we help each other. So that's all I want to do, is just help each other and be brothers and sisters and love one another, because we have a very short time on this planet. And we have to look out for each other, because we can see the great Leviathan, the administrative state, has become the enemy of the American people. Bureaucrats now think that they're the boss, and you can see it in the way they treat us. And it's just absolutely detestable. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree, because I think that's why most of you are on my channel, because I offer an alternative viewpoint. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to save. And when I say save, I mean record this stuff, guys, because once my channel gets banned by the Thought Police, by Big Brother, all this information is going to disappear from the internet. But to help me with the algorithm to gain more subscribers, because once I get big enough, we're going to go over to Patreon, right? That's the next move, Patreon and Rumble. But we got to get a big enough following, right? Like that Dan Bondino guy. I mean, he controls the whole site pretty much. So we got to get up at that level. So if you guys can help me build up enough subscribers, then we'll be in a position where we can, just with word of mouth and the brand recognition, we'll get over there. So when you press that save button where it says save for later, that is a huge indication to the algorithm that I have a really great show. So that'll really be helpful. So again, guys, thanks so much for joining me. And I really do appreciate all the super chats that I got today. And then I'll just say it one more time. The best way to support my channel is to get a digital copy of my ebook by going to my profile on YouTube at Michael Eline. It's $19.99. It's my digital ebook about my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And those proceeds help me be able to support my channel. They help me to come up with cool ideas and get articles up on the michaeleline.com website about different issues that you guys want to know about sovereign citizens, about the Constitution, about filming police, the legalities, about Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, stuff that my people call in and they ask me to talk about it. And it's like, I've got to decide, working on this case that could generate me perhaps thousands of dollars to feed my family, or trying to write an article that I don't make any money for, right? So by you guys doing that, it helps me be able to do those things. Because look, if I've got to make the choice, if I can just get a little bit from my followers and subs over at YouTube, I'd rather do this. Look, if I could do this full time, I'd stop practicing law and just be a full-time YouTuber, because I get a lot more joy and happiness out of it. But, until that time, tune in the next bat time and the next bat channel, right, guys? Typically, I come on in the evenings, sometimes around 1700, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. This Saturday, I came on a little early because of the Dave and Buster's thing. But always, always, always make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the Thought Police are going to take down this channel. So again, thank you everybody for supporting me. Thank you for the super chats. And then for the anarchist who said the thoughtful anarchist, let's see some drone video. I did some drone video earlier, thought anarchist, but if you've got more, send it to me. If you've got police audit drone video, I want it. I'll put you up at the top, man. You got police audit drone video where you're auditing police with your drones, get it over to me. I want to see that stuff. I want to show that to my audience because I think that's the next thing. So I'm glad that I was able to break this to you. I haven't seen any other people really talk about this, but I think this could be the future of police audits if we can do it legally. So again, make sure to like and subscribe, make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And I'm serious. They already timed me out once for 7 days. It cost me a ton of revenue and subscribers, right? That I could have used towards helping the auditor community to make it a safer and better place for you guys. So again, till I see you next time, Semper Fi, do or die.